Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and the new Rise of the Shadows expansion for Hearthstone is here, so we're going to do a 100+ card opening session, and we're gonna, I think, see what the new version of automated deck generation will give me with that. Now, I'm still gonna use HS Replay and the Hearthstone deck tracker application to tell me what to do with my dust and see if there's anything I want to specifically craft with the dust to get some more cards. But you know, the new complete my deck is doing pretty well, so for most people that's fine. I guess we have to click this button to go forward. It's kind of weird, they spend time on this animation and you only see it once. Like, you would think that would mean something. So it's now the Year of the Dragon. That you can use the cards you use in Standard change each year. So does that mean 2 more cards really went to Wild? Yeah, so Journey to Unguru, Knights of Frozen Thrones, and Kobolds and Catacombs went into Wild. That feels like some cards are definitely going to be limited in Standard. Also, some classic cards nerfed, and we already knew what the list of this was, so on all of my accounts I used dust to craft these cards so that I would get extra dust because they're being nerfed, and then I can de-dust them and get even more dust. So it's pure profit. So I made sure I had like 2 Doom Guards, 2 Namturizes, 2 Divine Favors, 2 Jin, well, only 1 Jin Greymans, 1 Baku the Moon Eater, and 2 Black Cats. Now, if you had a gold version of this, it would break about even. Well, you'd get extra dust if you had gold versions of these cards, but it wasn't worth it to. It was exactly even if you used dust to craft gold versions of these cards and then decraft them. So it wasn't worth it at that point. This is a lot of cards of Classic to go away, and by putting these Classic cards in Wild, it really feels like some of this is just so they can make room to, like, a year from now, make a new card that says exactly the same thing. So, because of that, I got 5,560 dust, because I had crafted all of the cards, and I believe that would have been... No, you probably could have gotten more if I had gold versions of those cards, but I didn't. And it wasn't worth the effort. Why did it bring me into the collection screen? That's weird. Play 25 cards or more. We have a special daily quest. I'll play on my regular live stream on Wednesday, so I don't really think we'll be doing any real plays. We may play 1 game. And the Tavern Brawl last week gave us 1 pack. So let's see. That gave me 6,840 dust. That's where HS Replay will come into play. But it also, look at this, turned every single deck that I was playing that was auto-generated by Hearthstone about a month ago into Wild. So yeah, it's an incredibly short list of cards that you can play with in Standard. And I don't know if this is some thought that they're still trying to make Standard more friendly for new players. They're failing miserably to make Hearthstone friendly to new players. The onboarding process is, last time I tried it and looked at it, still at 3 to 4 weeks of playing to get up to rank 20 before you can actually unlock enough cards and start playing, unless you throw a bunch of money at it. And even if you did throw a bunch of money at it, it still probably wouldn't help much. I'm playing this game called Destiny Child, which is more of a lewd adult game, on my phone, and it gives you, it has a stamina system, but it gives you thousands and thousands of stamina to play for free for the first 3-4 weeks, so you can just play to your heart's desire and not get frustrated at the beginning. Hearthstone does almost the exact opposite by limiting you and keeping you slow and make you grind a lot more. I guess also it's worth noting that Destiny Child plays itself, so you literally can just put your phone down and come back an hour later and it's fine. So yeah, way more cards in Wild, and I had chosen on my European and Asian account to just get rid of all of my Wild cards, because it was just such a point where you can't catch up if you're going free to play, that you might as well just dust it. And so if you aren't close to a 100% collection, which my main account is closer to a 100% collection, you might consider just dusting all of this. The only people that are really going to play Wild are people that started from day one, and I didn't even start on day one. I was several months late to Hearthstone, and even I feel that grind. So yeah, that's crazy. Every single deck, which really sucks because the deck auto generation allowed me to go from averaging about rank 18 at best at the end of the month to rank 12 last month, and I'm at like rank, I don't know what rank I'm at, rank 12 right now, maybe rank 13. So I saw a major improvement in my win ratio just by playing what Hearthstone itself told me was the best deck I could play with the cards I have. But it doesn't take into account the fact that I can create new cards with dust. So all of those are gone. Let's start in here. I noticed on Reddit, I was too late for it, but they were giving away bundles of some sort to 4 people. Of course, on Reddit there's thousands and thousands of people following Reddit, and so that was probably on the front page anyways. I bought this once, or got this once, but then they allowed us to get the welcome bundle the second time. Now they have an arena entry and 3 things. Well, it costs 150 gold, I think, for an arena entry, and it costs 100 gold for a pack. So you're talking 1,050 gold for $9.99 for the Shadow Bundle, which is probably not that great of a deal. There were some pre-order bundles also. I guess I have enough gold here to buy 50 packs of Rise of the Shadows, particularly since I have a complete classic collection, and it would, as you can see, the other card expansions are going away next year, so buying a Witchwood or a Boomsday pack, or even a Rosticon Rumble pack, probably not the best move. This is probably the first expansion where it's going to make sense to try to get 100% completion on Rise of the Shadows, and then try to get 100% completion going forward. There is a new solo adventure though, so I know I have 2,500 gold here, but there's this new Rise of the Shadows solo expansion that is going to cost you about 2,500 gold to unlock. And in all honesty, I could probably spend 5 gold right now, 500 gold to get 5 more packs, but better safe than sorry. So day 1, which I imagine this is going to happen not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after next Tuesday, so in 2 weeks. That will be when that unlocks, and we'll have a special video for that too. I guess it is worth just testing here, and what I'll do is I'll type in the key phrase missing. So this new card is missing one, so I could create that with 400 dust just from saying this thing. Why I'm missing that card, I have no idea. Otherwise, that's all the classic cards, and you would of course have all the basic cards, and even like uncraftable cards for those two should return no results. In fact, I could keep that clicked anyways. Now on Witchwood, let's see. For every legendary, you're potentially gonna have to open 50 packs. So there's still a decent number of legendary cards, and it's kind of a shame that next year we're gonna lose some of these hero replacement cards. So they're gonna have to put out some new hero replacement cards to replace those. 11 pages of Witchwood cards missing. Not bad. As for Boomsday, there's a little bit fewer, a little bit more missing as far as Boomsday. And you can almost guarantee, here's another hero replacement card that will disappear next season, next year, 12 months from now. It'll be a shame to see Mechathune disappear. So yeah, you can definitely see that there's more missing, because I stopped focusing on getting these expansions instead of trying to get just classic cards, because classic cards stick around longer. So yeah, that's decent amount missing in Rumble too, and of course everything is missing in Rise of the Shadows because we haven't opened any of those cards. So we're gonna try and bring this down from 24 pages of cards that are missing to hopefully less than 11 pages. Let's start with that. Apologies if it took too long to get to this point. And we'll probably do this a little bit laid back and not have too much to say. This is our first pack, nothing lucky here. We have 4 commons and a rare. The blue indicating it's a rare. And yeah, I never know what to say in these card pack opening videos anyways. It's just what we're looking for, hopefully, would be well over 3 legendaries. But I don't see a reason why I'm guaranteed even that much. There is a pity timer in this where you're guaranteed a legendary in the first 10 packs, so this is the 3rd pack, so we can count on that. But that is only the first time you buy an expansion, and that timer, as far as I know, never gets reset. This is pack number 4. And after we open these 50 card packs, we're gonna go open some amount, maybe not as many as 50 on my European and Asian accounts. So we have a lot more cards to open after this. So this is pack 5. Getting a golden card is fine, but not particularly interesting to me. The only people that have golden cards or really even care about it are the people who play Hearthstone basically as a job, streamers. Here we are on pack 6. And we've gotten just a bunch of commons. Here's our first epic on pack 6. Commons and rares up until this point. Personally, I don't like playing with gold cards because I can't have 30 gold cards in the deck. If I could guarantee that all my cards were gold, that would be great. But since I can't, it's just odd to have one outlier. But yeah. Are we on pack 7 now? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, unless you're a streamer, unless you're like Disguised Toast or Kripparrian or something, you're almost certainly not going to have full gold sets. And I would pity somebody who had spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on Hearthstone to have full gold sets at this point, as this is a very mature game in 5 years in. But to be fair, there still hasn't been a replacement. So I think this is pack 9, and we get that pity timer on pack 9 and 2 rares. Ideally, you would want a gold legendary, because you can then dust that legendary if it's something you really didn't want and get more dust because it's golden. But odds are I'd never dust it anyways. So, and we'll look at these cards, I suppose, a little bit once we've opened all the packs. So now the pity timer is at 50 packs. We have 42 now. If we got no legendaries whatsoever going forward, then I would start buying one pack at a time, and or probably just to save time, I would probably just buy 8 packs and dig into my my reserve gold. Excuse me, I took a drink there. This is kind of oddly early for me, as I typically suffer from insomnia and wake up somewhere around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So the all cards revealed live stream and separate videos are already on my channel. So there's a Rise of Shadows, all Druid cards revealed, all Hunter cards revealed, all neutral cards revealed videos. And then I looked at all the cards, and no expansion so far has hugely impressed me. This expansion seemed to be pretty good, but there's nothing insane changing the game that they seem like they do in any expansion. I wouldn't be opposed to Hearthstone having only like 1, maybe 2 expansions per year. This would probably be bad for streamers like me, but if there was one big expansion that added crazy new things that changed the game, that would be great. On the other hand, perhaps more expansions are the thing to do. New expansions each month would keep the meta game changing constantly, so that you don't run into people playing the same cards all the time. If there was kind of no set schedule to it, and it was just like, hey, we've made 10 new cards, so here are the 10 new cards, that would be cool too. That's almost would be like a free update to a deck building single player game now, if you were gonna do it like that. Like the only way Hearthstone and Activision Blizzard sucker people out of their money is by limiting the new cards to expansions and building up as much hype around them as possible. But yeah, this game is very long in the tooth, very old. Magic the Gathering Arena potentially has the chance to to dethrone it if it gets super popular, and then there's kind of nothing else that has come close. Artifact has thrown in the towel and is going to like go back to the drawing board, basically, to try to make the game fun and address its weird monetization issue. And there's every now and then a Yu-Gi-Oh card that doesn't have enough focus or polish on it for a Yu-Gi-Oh card game to really catch on. There's a Dragon Ball card game that just came out recently, and I don't know if that got really popular on mobile and really popular in general. That has the potential to maybe dethrone Hearthstone, but it would have to be really good and supported, which both Yu-Gi-Oh and Dragon Ball have that lack of support. Probably because you could always make a new Yu-Gi-Oh game, you could always make a new Dragon Ball game and sucker the same people to buy it a second time. You really can't make Hearthstone 2 and convince people who are still fans of Activision Blizzard, of which there are fewer and fewer by every day, to play Hearthstone 2. And it's still 5 years ago, well, maybe Arena didn't exist 5 years ago, but ever since Arena came out, Arena has not changed at all. It's still too expensive to play, as far as I'm concerned. It has changed in its, like, the cards it offers you, but the rewards haven't really changed, and the expense hasn't really changed. Single player comes and goes, but almost every single player is only worth playing once as far as single player scenarios. I'm glad they're there, and they are worth playing once, but they're not worth doing on heroic hard mode. You get some daily quests that have you do things in single player, which are usually a little bit easier than doing things in ranked, but it takes you away from playing ranked, so your focus and the time gets divided. I barely want to spend 3 hours playing Hearthstone every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And at this point, when I play Hearthstone, I'm barely focusing on playing Hearthstone, and I'm also looking at video game news and games that have come out on Steam. And that has worked a lot better for me with that half-focused intention. And I guess the half-focus has probably always been there, because I was usually, in the old days when I was playing Hearthstone for myself only, I was usually listening to podcasts or watching TV also. This is definitely a game that I'd recommend as your second screen activity and not your first screen activity, which is a phrase that was popular for a few years there. I am not getting very many good cards. I'm getting a lot of classics here, and very few epics, and very few legendaries. And I don't expect to really get a lot more cards here either. So for Hearthstone, everything should basically focus around playing ranked. The Tavern Brawls were introduced as a way of giving you a free pack once a week, but nearly every single Tavern Brawl that has come out has been an annoying waste of time. In all honesty, since day one of playing Tavern Brawls, there's only been about 2 that I've liked. The rest of them barely changed the game, or they changed the game in just annoying ways. So I could certainly suggest and hope that they would go back to the drawing board on Tavern Brawls. You know what would really help with Hearthstone is daily login bonuses. just instead of making me play Hearthstone for daily quests, which don't give it a daily quest. This is like the second, maybe third epic we've gotten. But just give me a reward of some amount for logging in every single day. That's what most games like this would do. Small bits of gold that get higher and higher for every day that you've logged in. Particularly for me, since I'm coming in and re-rolling the daily quest anyways, a daily login bonus could easily be 365 plus days a year. Like, there are rare occasions when I forget to log in, but almost every day I'm logging in anyways and getting nothing from that. And there certainly could be other events that would make sense. If, like, every 2 months there's a new festival of some sort. So this is the Festival of Mechs, and if you throughout this month you play a bunch of mech cards, you get mech points, and those mech points give you more rewards. That would be great. These are all ideas that are from any gacha game. Like, they should really just copy gacha games in a lot of ways. Like I said, the game that I'm playing with and trying out right now, Destiny Child, like, they have 2 festivals going on. There's no less than 5 different lists of quests that you're supposed to do in a weekly / monthly run. There's just always something extra that they're asking you to do, and they're always rewarding you with some amount of something and to do. So I don't want Hearthstone to become insanely overburdened with 5 different currencies to hide the fact that it's designed to steal money from you, but this game already has 2 currencies. It has gold and dust and real world money. So I guess 3 different currencies there. Alright, we get a legendary and an epic. So I think this is the second epic we've gotten. And at this point, there's only 9 cards, so the pity timer resets at 50. So it would be ridiculous for me to try to go for another legendary. I'm hoping I get another legendary, certainly, but almost certainly I won't. Yeah. If there was always something to do, if there was always a new challenge, new quest, if, say, you have a festival of mechs and it's just like tier 1 play 1 mech, tier 2 play 3 mechs, tier 4 play 9 mechs, and then it goes down to like tier 25, and at tier 25 it gives you like 1 free golden legendary card. That would be cool. And it certainly would help a lot of the new players, which that's really where Hearthstone needs to focus. Is it needs to find better and more ways to get new players to the point where they're still playing. There's a lot of drop off in these types of games where people play for a week or 2 and then they get bored and disappear. We're at this point we have a decent number of epics that we've gotten. So keeping new players playing, keeping new players interested, daily login would help a lot in that factor. Would be the thing. As for old players like me, there's very little you can do to maintain an old player playing. They're either pot committed at this point, to use a poker term, or they're not. So as long as they don't do anything for me that would make me rage quit, I'll keep playing. It's not really going to hurt my feelings or upset me personally if they made it super easy for new players to get 100% complete collection, as long as that also let me have 100% complete collection. At this point, that probably just boils down to they need to give every single player all of the classic cards. Day one, you get a full classic set. All current players also get a full classic set. So then they can just dust that. That would give a ridiculous amount of dust to old players, but who cares? Then they can use that dust to get the few cards and expansions they are missing. And that would be very nice. That only really irritates people like Kriperian and Disguised Toast, because those people have all the cards in gold and in regular, and they're just sitting on a pile of dust. But there's literally nothing they can do with that dust, frankly. Like, even if Hearthstone introduced a dust gambling mechanic in Arena where you could use dust for Arena tickets instead of gold, that's not going to really work or help anything for them. They're just always going to be on the top of that. So yeah, there's really nothing you can do for people who have everything. They are satisfied. So that was 50 card packs, 51. And we can disenchant the extras. We have 7 rare extras and 88 common extras, which boils down to 580 dust, which is a decent amount of dust, certainly. But I don't think there's anything specifically that I want to craft with dust in this new expansion. Let's see. So we've gotten 2 copies of this, and we'll just go through this really quickly. 1 copy of this, 1 copy of this, 2 copies of this. What did we miss? We missed an epic. We missed a legendary. We missed a couple of commons, and well, this is a rare. So I'm sitting on probably enough dust where I could craft all the missing cards that are common. So then we would have a complete collection here. Here's a gold version of a card, so I'm just going to dust that because I already have 2 regular copies of it. Here's another gold version that we can disenchant for a little bit more dust. Here's a card that we might as well not disenchant because we don't have 2 of this. Because look, if I disenchant this for 100 and then go and create this for 100, it's in the exact same position as it is, so I might as well just live with it, unless I'm just going to be super obsessive about getting rid of the gold cards in my collection, which that would be silly, but not beyond something that I would do. Looks like we didn't get very many priest cards. So that might be a slight concern. So yeah, I think there's room to do a little bit more work here. Again, this would be 50 dust for this common and gold. We can dust this, and I could have, we can do this a couple different ways with a couple of key phrases. Now as far as the neutral cards, I guess that's a big point where we would want to have neutral cards. The power curve is creeping up. It didn't seem like it was really jumping much, but this was a card that everybody got if you just logged in. But because the power curve is creeping up, having neutral cards in this new expansion makes a lot of sense. In general, having neutral cards makes more sense than having hero specific cards. arguably they probably could get away with getting rid of all of the hero specific cards and just give us neutral cards instead. Very few of those cards really matter. So if I go over here to standard and then I say missing as a key phrase, and then I use the secondary key phrase of common. Alright, that's gonna leave me with just this card, maybe moving a little too fast, sorry, this card, and these two cards. So that's an insignificantly small amount of dust. That's the cheapest amount of dust you can use to get these cards. Now, maybe it's not the best strategy. Maybe somebody could run the math at some point and say, actually, you shouldn't have done that, because opening new packs, you almost certainly would have had that as a pause. There would have been easier ways to do that just by opening card packs. So now we've gone one step up to the next tier, missing rare cards, and that's going to cost me 100. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 400 here, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 10. That's 1,000. That's going to be 14,000, 1,400. 16, 1,700, 18, 19, 2,000, 2,000 with a couple more. So yeah, this is going to be painful. This would be very, very painful to craft all of these cards. But we're not missing too many neutral cards, so we might as well do it. I do have enough dust here. This very well may not be the best move, but this is probably the easiest way to use the Hearthstone deck building mechanic, because it's only going to complete your deck and build your deck with cards, the best cards that you have. It's not going to say, well, we notice you have some dust here, why don't you craft this card? That's where HS Replay would come in. Also, it is fair to say that the deck building mechanic right now is not going to be super effective, because it can only build based on the number of games it's had experience with those cards, and since these cards are brand new, it can't really make too many suggestions. So we may see a lot of day oneers like me crafting decks and not doing too well, whereas if people came in 2 or 3 days from now and automatically generated decks, they might do significantly better. So yeah, down to 5,000 dust. And it will be the epic cards and the legendary cards that it'll be too expensive to craft. And I really felt like 7,000 dust was a lot of dust, but honestly, it wasn't. Now, as for my main America's account, which we're on right now, I don't think I'm at the point where I want to dust anything. Like, I probably could go crazy and just dust all the wild cards I have and have a lot more dust. But I'm trying to have a complete collection just in case there's some point that I do want to go and make a wild set and play a wild. I'm in this weird middle position because I've been playing almost since day one, but not quite since day one. So yeah. However, for my European and Asian accounts, which I started much later, those accounts really have no chance. Alright, so if we just now look at missing cards alone, and we can see where we are as far as how many cards with epic we would need to craft in legendary. A legendary would cost 1600 dust. I could not even craft 2 of those. Epic cards would cost 400 dust. I can craft a few of these. There's several pages here of standard cards that are epic and legendary that I don't have. Not all of these are from the new expansion though, so that is something to take away from this. It's like over 24 pages, I think, because it seems like it started over again for some reason. If I just limit it to Rise of the Shadows, yeah, there's 11 pages of epic and standard cards here that we're missing. I'm also gonna type in the key phrase extra because some of these cards I did create after the fact, so I might as well disenchant and get some dust back. Results found in other sets. There you go. We'll just look at all cards that are extra. What? Interesting. Why is that not working? It said it found other cards, but then it didn't work. Well, whatever. Let's see. You could, if you wanted to dust everything, you could search, I think, by the key phrase wild and start dusting all that. Just in case that helps. So let's just build the new decks here. So we need a warrior standard deck, create custom deck, and then complete my deck for me. And this should be the deck it thinks as of today is the best deck to build for the cards I have. So we have add dragons, deal damage, refresh hero points, steal a minion, whenever you draw a beast get +2/+2, equip a weapon, gain 3 attack this turn, and have rush. If you're holding a dragon, gain +1 attack and rush. Deal 1 damage to all other minions. Deal 5 damage randomly split amongst all minions except mechs. Summon a 4/5 Bane Bloodhoof. Overkill, you can attack again. Weapon. Destroy an enemy minion with taunt. At the end of your turn, do 2 damage to all other characters. Draw a rush, lifesteal, and death rattle card from your card hand. Charge has +6 damage while damaged. Summon 1/1 whelps until your side is full. Add dragon cards and deathwing. So a lot of these cards are basic cards, classic cards. Classic cards. I'm not sure how many of these are even from the new expansion. Seem like almost none of them are. And maybe that's what we're getting right now, is a decks that are going to have none of the Rise of the Shadow cards in them, but would be the best standard decks you could play with the standard cards that exist. This is a new Rise of the Shadow card because it has lackeys in it. That might be a new Rise of the Shadows card. But for this Murloc deck, for Shaman, it's about at least 95% the same as it was before. And I have 3,000 dust that HS Replay can help me craft the few specific legendaries or epics that would really knock up my collection and make it more powerful. But in all honesty, adding 1 or 2 cards is not going to change my gameplay to the point where I'm getting way better amounts of victories. Although, that being said, this I think might be a new card. Yeah, it really feels like only 2 or 3 new cards are getting added. Apparently I have been playing with some very terrible decks in the past, and not really realizing it. It always did feel like I was losing way too often. 5 years into it and still ending up at rank 20 seemed inappropriate. And I know that they've done a lot of fiddling with the ranking system to make it easier to get up higher. And maybe it is just in that fiddling that I've been able to make it up to rank 12 or wherever I am. But that at least feels better. And you know, they could do something certainly that would reward people for their years of loyal playing the game, and they really don't do a lot there. Particularly, I'd like to see ways to use either dust or gold to unlock the hero replacement faces skins, so I could have more of those without spending money, or use gold and dust to craft some of the oldest of the card backs, so I could have a complete collection there. But they seem stubbornly unwilling to do that. Like it even matters. If there was a card back that was available 5 years ago, like most people who played 5 years ago are not going to care if you can spend, even if it was a cheap amount of dust to get that card back. Card backs aren't that important. In fact, there's way too much focus on the card backs. And if you want to talk about skins, probably the most interesting skin I've ever seen for Hearthstone is a mod that just reskins a lot of the cards to make the female characters nude. It's just a straight up nude mod for a collectible card game. But of course Hearthstone can't do that. They have to remain family friendly. And as a streamer, I can't install the mod because then I have to be YouTube friendly. But when you compare that mod to the card backs, which are usually boring, just slight artistic variations on the same theme, it's dull. And then at this point, they might as well change the Hearthstone logo so it looks different, so that the card backs could look different. And all the art in the cards themselves never really change, except for the gold versions are slightly different than they're more animated than the stationary non-gold versions. But that is it. If they came back and used the new technology called Live 2D on all the cards, what Live 2D does is it uses math to shift and move the human-like characters on screen so it looks like they're alive and moving. It's not a perfected science by any means at this point, but it puts a lot more lifelikeness into the pictures than what we have here, because you can see this is the standard version of Holy Smite. the golden version of Holy Smite just has a fire effect over it, and that's pretty much the difference. It would be also nice if you could actually see this art in full. There should be a way on this screen to click and see a full 1080p version of this, even if it's just zoomed in. And also when cards have things like will summon a 1/1 lackey or something, those cards that they're talking about should be over here on the side. A lot of the cards that summon things are summoning those cards from nowhere, so there's no way to ever see those cards and see what they do or what they could do. So our priest deck, that might be a new card from Rise of the Shadows, but yeah, otherwise it still seems like it's exactly the same. And yeah, I guess that was that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And unlike HS Replay, where you have titles and names for your deck, it just says custom, so I have no idea what this is. I could come in here and rename this Murloc because I can see it has Murlocs in it, but something like this is probably a Rage Warrior deck, or a Control Warrior deck or something like that. I don't even know the proper naming schemes, but certainly Hearthstone doesn't seem to know it either. And when you get daily quests that are going to say play a bunch of like below 2 mana minions, you always want to reroll the 50s. That's going to be a hard thing to do. They introduced in this expansion, by the way, the ability to reroll legendary daily quests like this. Not a smart move. Not something you want to do at all. Anything that's giving you a pack is effectively giving you 100 dust. The odds that you're going to get a daily quest that gives you 100 dust or more are extremely low. In general, it's often a struggle just to reroll over 50 to get 60 dust. Yeah, and right now I've made it up to rank 14, and I am currently at rank 15, so when I play tomorrow, my goal will be to play the new decks and see how that works. We have enough gold certainly here to purchase the solo adventure. Let's move over now to the European account and open about 50 decks there. So we're breaking up this video, not just doing a full 50 cards and then another 50 cards, then another 50 cards. Although it may not actually be 150 that we open. It depends on how much gold I have on my European and Asian account. Sorry, I got something stuck in my throat as I'm drinking beer. Since this is the year of the dragon, what you would really like to see is the dragon cards to become a lot better than they have been in the past. I've never been super happy with the legendary cards that were available, well, the dragon cards that have been available up until this point, because they don't really work with anything. They don't synergize with each other. They tend to be very loner cards or greedy cards. There will be some cards that say, if you're holding a dragon, give this card some kind of buff, but there's nothing that says give all dragons +1 attack, or +1 defense, or gain a significant amount of attack for every dragon on your field. So it always feels like maybe 1 or 2 dragons in your deck are the most amount you ever need. So I did my preparation. I got another 5,560 dust. And every card... this is acting slow. So, like, every card deck, again, is wild. So here's some of my oldest decks, I imagine. So, with the new automatic deck generator, I'm already seeing that there's an issue here where you are going to be forced to rebuild your deck at every new expansion, whereas you very possibly wouldn't do that if you're just playing a top tier meta deck. Or maybe you would. Maybe this expansion in particular is changing a lot in that case, and that is going to help quite a bit. You may also notice that I have 11,210 dust. That is because on this account I have gotten rid of every single card that is in wild, with the exception of the decks that just went in the wild. So I'll have to make a decision here now. Do I want to go in here and just dust everything here for a bunch of dust to try to have more of a complete classic set and a complete standard set, starting with Rise of the Shadows? Same is true for Frozen Throne, same is true for Unguru, and same is well, actually the old guard cards are these are just uncraftable cards. So and same is also true with all these cards here. These are the cards that I crafted specifically so then I could just disenchant them to have more dust. But this is gonna be a lot of disenchanting if I do that, and frankly that's probably not worth doing on screen. To having to do this for 3 or 2 expansions in their entirety would probably take me about an hour of just hitting the disenchant button. So disenchant to 1600 dust for 400 dust. Disenchant this for 400 dust. And that bumps us up to 12,550 dust before we even have any duplicates at all. There is also a glitch, so like it thinks like cards that are new that aren't new exist. Like these are definitely not new cards in any way. And it just constantly thinks that there are new cards. It's something in the software. Anyways, let's open 50 packs. I think that's more than enough. Yeah, 50 packs with a ton of dust. So there is a chance here we could have a full collection, but that chance is going to circulate certainly around the how many legendaries I get here. I'd have to have probably a considerable amount of legendaries. Now that's the first card of this new expansion, so we have 9 more cards at maximum before we get a legendary. Ideally, if you would want your first pack to give you a legendary, which would be, I guess, a 1 out of 10 chance, and then you would have 50 cards which would be at least a guaranteed another legendary. But ideally, theoretically, you could open a pack, get a legendary, open a pack, get a legendary, open another pack, get a legendary, and you could just constantly do that in an infinite world. So I believe that was pack 3 or 4, and we've got our legendary. But yeah, we do. And it's a golden legendary, which is nice, but doesn't really mean anything. It just means I'll sit on that. So if I don't get another legendary for the rest of this pack, which is unlikely, then I would buy 3 more packs. But that's kind of all the strategy you can do here. There is potentially a way they could make this a little bit more interesting. If classic card packs, for instance, cost not 100 gold, but 10 gold, or even 50 gold, even 90 gold, then, and the pity timers worked amongst different types of packs, there could be a strategy here where if you're just grinding out for legendaries, you buy 59 packs. Okay, here's our next, we got another legendary pretty early, good. You could buy 49 common classic packs and then 1 of the new expansion. So now if I don't get another legendary, I would buy 7 more packs. That's still doable, but we're getting to the point where it stops being doable. 2 epics, interesting. But you would have to be careful in doing something like that. But not super careful, because if you got a duplicate legendary in the classic set because you accidentally just got lucky on the cheaper packs, you could still dust that legendary and that would give you a considerable amount of dust. The fact that there really is no way to manipulate the system and confuse the system or do the economics of it makes it impossible for anybody to succeed, except for on the straightforward, obvious way of just spend more money and open more packs. Right now, I think the best way to win at Hearthstone is be a super popular streamer, have a reference code to Amazon's App Store that gives you back Amazon gold coins. I believe this is how Kriperian gets his cards, and so then he uses those Amazon gold coins to buy packs in Hearthstone, which is effectively pushing people into spending money on Amazon.com, which is a far too big monopolistic company. And then that huge monopolistic company, which I don't really hate Amazon, in fact I love it and shop there all the time, but it is far too big and should probably be broken up into about 5 different online stores that have to compete with each other. That big company, Amazon, is giving away money to Kriperian for the advertisement, and that's about the only way you get any special benefit in Hearthstone, unless of course you're a friend that will work at Hearthstone, and then I imagine they just get accounts that have all the cards to test things on. Another epic. I kind of want to get a legendary at this point because I've kind of lost count, and I think I could only go as far as getting 7 more packs. So if I have gotten a legendary more recently than that, I may just gonna have to live with what I've got. Of course, for the European account here, I have a ton of dust. So, but it's still not really enough to have everything. Particularly if I'm rather short on legendaries, because those are the most expensive things to craft in dust, and the things that you often have to craft in dust. Yes, if Artifact had succeeded very well, Artifact did have a system in it where you were going to sell cards and trade cards, I think, on the Steam storefront. And the Steam storefront is kind of notorious for being an actual marketplace where you could do all kinds of buying and selling shenanigans. And so I wouldn't be surprised if a few people would have found some ways to buy booster packs for some unknown game, sell them for a high price, or sell the cards from those booster packs from a high price. Booster packs are things that just give trading card collectibles for Steam games, which are stupid and don't really matter. They only kind of matter to me because I ask people to friend me on Steam, and that to get people to friend you on Steam, you have to have a large Steam friends list, and to grow your Steam's friends list, you use the trading cards to make badges that level you up. It's economies on economies on economies, but I imagine there would have been a way to do stuff like that, where you could have done some shenanigans and actually made some profit in the Artifact, or just in real money on the Steam storefront. In the same way that Counter-Strike Go skins, there's a bunch of shenanigans that can be done, and if you get really lucky, you can make some profit here on those, but most people won't. There will always be more losers in any kind of economic situation than there are winners. Well, most economic systems, I guess, at least. You know, it wouldn't be a terrible idea if Hearthstone had like a lottery system in it. That everybody gets one free entry into a lottery. At the end of the month, there's a random person picked. They're given a considerable amount of cards, even if it's just 50 packs. And you wouldn't want just one winner. You'd probably want one winner that is given a complete collection of cards. You would want probably then 100 second place winners that are given like let's say 100 packs, and then a third tier winner that's 1,000 people that are given 10 free packs or something. Try to get the number of victory of winners up. The other way you could do this is if the rank rewards were just better. There is not much of a difference between getting a rank 20 reward chest at the end of the month and getting a rank 12, which is ridiculous. It should probably double each time. Those rewards should include more than one pack. Hearthstone in general just feels like an extremely greedy game if you're playing free to play, and even if you're trying to grind it out and trying to play like crazy, you cannot get ahead. Here we have two epics. So yeah, if you are just trying to grind in Hearthstone, if there was just a way to play this game automatically, you only get 10 gold for every 3 victories. That's the only thing you're guaranteed after the daily quests. You could have a Hearthstone account playing non-stop every day for all eternity, and that would not be enough gold to get you a complete collection by the time the next expansion happens. That is just a really small reward, and it's certainly a reward that nobody feels. Nobody even kind of realizes or remembers that they're getting 10 gold for every 3 victories. Where arguably it should be a free pack for a week's worth of play. And unfortunately, I don't think, even if Activision Blizzard gave up on Hearthstone, which they really can't afford to, because they've got very little else other than Hearthstone and Overwatch and whatever Activision is selling at the time. Even if they did give up on Hearthstone and put it in a maintenance mode, they're not going to be generous based on their past actions. So even if they stopped adding content, that would just give the last few players that are still playing the game time to eventually get complete collections, but then there would be nobody to play with. And at a certain point, since this is somewhat online servers, I wouldn't be surprised if Activision Blizzard in many years from now just shut down Hearthstone when they gave up on it, instead of putting it in a maintenance mode where they don't add any new content. Alright, thank goodness. Thank goodness we get that legendary. This means we won't be buying any more packs. Because it could be as many as 40 more packs before I got the next legendary, and I definitely can't afford to buy 40 more packs. Ben Brode, who was considered the face of Hearthstone, and other people who also worked on Hearthstone, have left Activision Blizzard, and Ben Brode went on to make his own company called Second Dinner. So if he manages to make a interesting card game, I imagine that's where everybody will jump ship when that comes out. I believe it is a Marvel based character card game too, so he's got the license to all the Marvel superheroes. Do I particularly care about that? Maybe. I mean, I don't play with World of Warcraft, so I don't know any of the characters in this game, and have never bothered to learn any of the lore. So at the very least, if I was playing a Marvel-based card game, I would know the general things. I know what I've seen in most of the Marvel movies and what little I've picked up here. And with the many decades of history that you could go through a Marvel or DC comics, you could certainly have a 1980s Spider-Man, a 1990s Spider-Man. You can have so many different versions of those characters in different suits that there's enough there to make characters and have the cards do something different. And you could certainly go into obscure territory on Marvel cards. Oh, I got lucky. Another legendary. Yeah, we're averaging 2 or 3 legendaries in a 50 card pack opening. The thing I would say is, if you are going to do a Marvel card game, the thing that is kind of consistent with all Marvel heroes is that they're all in costumes. So you probably are going to need to want to balance that with a whole lot of human, not superhero characters. Like, you're gonna want to try to have as many Mary Jane characters in as far as cards as you would Spider-Man cards, because you'll want to be able to draw and show faces. You'll want to be able to draw and show normal humans instead of monsters. And if they were to do something like an expansion where it's just scrolls, which I believe is Marvel, that could potentially get annoying real fast if an entire expansion is just same characters that all look the same. Alright, so start by disenchanting. We're at 12,600 dust. Disenchant this. Now we're at 13,205 dust. I didn't see. Seemed like I had even an epic extra and then a bunch of rares and a bunch of commons. Okay. So let's get rid of that. Get out of here. So we'll go to the Rise of the Shadows, and then crafting mode, and we'll just look at it this way. So seems like this time we got most of the druid cards. We're missing a couple. We're missing a few hunter cards. We're missing a few mage cards. This expansion is set to make mage a lot easier to play and win a lot more. So we might start seeing some expert players actually playing mage, whereas mage is usually designed for the newest of players, since that is the class you're forced to play before anything else. So it is definitely new player friendly in the fact that this new expansion makes it a lot easier. That being said, if you're a brand new player playing today and you're not willing to spend money, which is a good policy for any game, you are going to run into problems pretty fast with not actually having any of the Rise of the Shadow Mage cards, so that's not going to actually help you in any way. And we have some extra gold ones, and we'll disenchant those in a second. So my goal for my European and Asian account, before anything else, is to have a complete classic card and standard card collection. So I want to come over here to like classic cards and then use the key phrase missing, and this is gonna be expensive. Let's see, like there's nothing missing in basic. You couldn't be missing anything in basic after you've reached rank 20. So I have an epic here, which would cost 400, 400, 400, 1600. A epic here, 400, 400. Another 800 there. Another 400 there. Another 1600 here. Another 800 here. Another 400 here. 800, 800, 1600, 400. That's a lot of dust. And clearly I've already crafted all the commons and rares, and I'm just probably could get all the epics in this. And in the long run, having all the epics and classic probably is better. But let's start with something a little bit more basic. Let's just start with the missing common cards in standard. So this is probably doable. These would be the cheapest purchases. And see, yeah, that's only 10 pages. So we'll start with that. And in this rare occasion, it would be nice if there was a button to just craft them all. Unfortunately, there is none. Now remember, I am also going to get some dust back. Probably a lot of dust back, but I'm going to do that all off screen by disenchanting the expansions that have just been put into Wild. And that probably won't set me so high up that it matters. Let's see. Yeah, we're not really eating into that 12,000 dust. So my strategy here of getting rid of the wild expansions for older accounts is the right way to go. So if you had just started playing over last year or a couple months ago, and then those cards that you had are now in Wild, don't try to play in Wild. Nobody's playing in Wild. There's no incentive to play in Wild. And Wild is not even that wild, so it's not even that fun. As far as I can tell. So, yeah, that barely ate at all into our expenses. And this will eat into our dust a little bit more, I guess. I'm just making all of the currently available cards. But what this will also do at 100 dust is, I probably should start over here with the neutral cards, just in case this actually does cost a lot. This will allow me to potentially really hold my own in ranked play and have a much better experience on the day-to-day gameplay of Hearthstone, which that is a big danger, certainly, is that you're just gonna rage quit, or even I'm gonna rage quit. I certainly would have stopped playing Hearthstone a long time ago if it weren't for the fact that people like to watch these streams, and it gives me something to do while I'm looking at video game news, which it's a trick that I'm trying to implement. Certainly is if I'm doing work for my YouTube channel, which as I'm staying up to date on video game news, I might as well make that into video content and just live stream it. So we're down to 8,000 at this point in dust. Down to 7,000 now. So, ideally I want to use all my dust though. Like, there's no reason to sit on it. So now we're down to 6,000. And where we will be after I'm done with all of this is we will have every common and rare card in standard, which will, for our intentions, then limit us down to epics and legendaries. And so if I'm going to pick what to do with the rest of my dust as far as epics and legendaries, I need to craft classic cards over Rise of the Shadow expansion cards, because in a couple years Rise of the Shadow expansion cards will just go into Wild, where a lot of the classic cards are never going to go into Wild, or the Hall of Fame as it's called for classic cards. And there's been a little bit of shifting of the thought process, it feels like, as to what cards go into the Hall of Fame. It seems like in this expansion some of those cards that went into the Hall of Fame were kind of done for no reason, whereas up until this point only cards that really needed to be nerfed in some way are going into the Hall of Fame, instead of being nerfed. So probably what they're trying to do is not nerf as many cards as possible, so they're saying to themselves, if this is a card that looks like it might be a problem in the future, let's put it in the Hall of Fame instead. And then it can only be played in Wild, and since they don't care about gameplay in Wild, it can be overpowered still. See, and that leaves me with just 800 dust. So now if we go back to Classic and we just look at what is missing, that's one epic card. That's all I can craft, and I'd like it to be that, but it's not. So so I'm trying to look here, and that's a good one, probably. A lot of these cards are not great, and you wouldn't actually play them. Probably don't need those. That's not a terrible one to have. That's a pretty good one, and it would get rid of Paladin. This is probably a good one. Yeah, if I spend too much time and agonize all over this, though, it's gonna... let's just do this one. Oh, that was only 400. Alright, well then let's also do this one. There you go, and that puts me down to 65 dust. But remember, every single card I have in Wild could be dusted at this point, and that'll certainly let me craft at least a few more of these of the cards that existed in Classic, so that there's some more work there. The other thing to type in here now is extra, because I may have crafted a few cards that had golden cards. So all cards that are extra. Now we can just disenchant the golden cards, because I don't want golden cards. And that'll give me a small amount of dust back, but not, frankly, enough to really justify going back. Like, one more epic card could be crafted. So yeah, more work. And let's see what the deck builder now decides to build for us for each hero class. So it's dragons and rush and the same cards that it would have done for the other account, with some slight variations here I'm noticing. So maybe there are some cards I didn't get, some legendaries that I got in this expansion. What would certainly help me, and probably very few other people, is if they got rid of the European account and the Asian account and just merged them all into one account, because then I would have 3 times the number of cards in one account, and I could dust all those extras, and I could probably have a complete collection instantaneously if that was the case. The Shaman deck is still just a Murloc deck as before. I imagine we won't see any major differences. They're calculating this basically. They have a value for every single card, and they're picking the cards that have the highest value that work with each other. So if there's one specific card that you want to play and you put it in your deck and then click complete your deck, it will try to build a deck around that, but often may give up on that if you picked a weird card. So just this rogue deck looks a little different from the other rogue deck I built. Now there's actually 4 accounts. There's also a China account on top of the Americas account, European and Asian account. But the China account is you know, firewalled and censored. So I understand why they wouldn't want to ever merge that one. I can't even have an account in the China account. So I don't. But as far as the European and Asian accounts, there's really no limiting factor there. If they just merged it, which would increase the player pool, which would increase probably the experience by some small amount at the very least, that would be super helpful for me, and probably very few other people, because only a streamer who wants people to friend him on Hearthstone and wants to be able to play those people on Hearthstone would actually go through the hassle and the effort, and it was a large amount of hassle and effort to make a account that's outside of their region and play those accounts, which I do. It tripled the amount overnight of how much Hearthstone I needed to play. It took me from playing about 1 hour every 3 days into playing 3 hours every 3 days, which often feels like way too much time to play Hearthstone, which inherently that is a problem, I guess. Like when you have people playing Dota for 8 hours a day, and you can't find enough fun to play Hearthstone for 3 hours every other day, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, that goes to show that this game really can get monotonous and boring pretty fast. Let's see what the mage has here. We may be getting away from elemental mage. This is the Archmage Antonidas strategy that everybody plays with Sorcerer's Apprentice, and trying to get multiple Sorcerer's Apprentices on the field. Or at least it's somewhat like that deck. And Priest. With the exception of this expansion helping Mage quite a bit, it didn't seem like it was doing too much to change the metagame. It was making some of the higher hero classes that get played a little weaker, but it wasn't really doing a lot to strengthen the lower hero classes. Ideally, every month something should happen, or every expansion at the very least, something should happen where you could, where you should be playing a different hero class. So if one expansion, Warrior, is really strong, it should definitely be the weakest the next expansion, And generally speaking, you probably want to have, if Warrior, Shaman, and Rogue were the top tier meta decks to play that expansion, they become the lowest tier in the next one, and the lowest tier become the middle tier, and the middle tier goes up, and it just is always changing and always different. Because, you know, there's a lot of control paladins out there. A lot of people who mainly only play paladin or druid or hunter and never get around to playing something like mage. So let's now move over to the Asian account. There's a lot more work that needs to be done. Now I'm hoping that the time has happened on the Asian account. It should have. If anything, it would have been the European account, I guess, that would have given me trouble. But yeah. Rise of Shadows, now available, thank goodness. So the number we're gonna first be looking for is, last year was Year of the Raven. That really didn't mean anything. Guess next year is the year of the raptor or dinosaur. So we're looking for 5,560 dust. Alright, we should probably get that. 5,560. Even on my secondary account, I spent some extra effort to craft those cards and get some extra dust. I'm trying to have my secondary account do a little bit more. It's barely at level 20 and just unlocked Tavern Brawls, but I'm not doing Tavern Brawls with it every day, every week or so. And yeah, everything is wild again. So let's start here with this. Well, actually, is there a reason to do this right now? Probably not. We should have just opened packs. And I'm gonna have to do a lot of work off screen with my Hearthstone deck tracker app because it needs to know what cards are in each deck. I probably will try something different here and name the decks based on region. That way, if I have the same deck in two different regions, it'll be able to tell the difference, hopefully. So I'll just put A for Americas, E for Europe's, and what? A for Asia? That won't work. I'll probably put I'll have to think that through. M for main account, and then one for Europe, and then A for Asia would probably be the best way. I have 8,000 gold on this one, but I'm okay with just opening 50 packs, quite frankly. We may have some extra pack opening happen after the solo adventure happens. I may just end up opening a collection of 10 or 20 classic packs, trying to get legendaries that way instead of doing this. This is one of the few card packs I've actually liked. I don't know if this is just a general because I like pizza. I don't even like pizzas that have olives and onions and whole cut tomatoes on them, but it's the only card pack I've ever said to myself, actually I like that one. All the others, they're so generic and so ridiculous. That being said, there is a new part to the expansion that if you log in via an Android phone, you'll get another card back. If you log in via PC, you'll get another card back. And if you log in via an iOS device, you'll get a card back. Also, if you log in with a Samsung Galaxy phone, you'll get a card back. That's an older thing, but it still should be valid. Which, that's a bit of a hassle, quite frankly, because that means it means you're going to have either one of every single type of platforms. Okay, so that was like 4 packs to get to the first legendary out of 10, which is good. And so now, if I don't get another legendary, I would just have to open 4 packs, which buy 4 more packs. So we need to almost certainly, even if I got a legendary right now, that would be great. But the earlier the legendaries, the better. Yeah, it's really not likely that you're going to have an Android device, an Apple device, and a PC device. One of those 3 you're not going to have easy access to. That being said, these are just for card backs, so they really don't matter. But that is also a great example of why don't you just let people use gold or dust to craft a card back, instead of potentially borrowing somebody's cell phone or computer. Like, I don't own an Android device. I'm gonna have to get somebody I know to log into my account. And that's a annoying hassle thing to have to do, to tell somebody, I need you to download this game on your Android phone that's 800 megs or so of extra data that they put on your memory card, just so you can log in on my account when you aren't even probably going to play this game. And that's not really going to convince a lot of people. Even if a friend can convince a friend to log into Hearthstone for them on your phone, doesn't mean you're going to convince that person to actually play the account. Or play Hearthstone and make their own account. It is also kind of worth mentioning that while Activision Blizzard does have their Battle.net's 2-factor authenticator, their passwords, and this seems to be a common thing on a lot of websites, is their password requirements and their password maximums are not up to my personal standard. So I often find if I'm enabling 2-factor authentication, it is because the passwords, it's something close to 8 to 16 characters maximum, whereas if you're using good, strong, long passwords, which long is probably better than a lot of other things that you could do. Like, I have a password that I generally try to use that's around 26 characters long, and often I'll run the websites and it's just like, that password's too long, and I'm like, why is that password too long? What's wrong with your security that I can't have a longer password? So we've got a legendary at 35, which means it would be possible to buy 15 more packs. And so we would do that if we don't get another legendary. That might mean that I don't have the capability to purchase all of the single player experience for the Asian account. that's not a big deal because when the single solo player experience happens, I was only going to really play it on my main account anyways. And then whenever I have some free time, which is almost never, I was going to play the European and Asian accounts for whatever card or card back you get for doing the single player experience. You'll almost certainly get some daily quests at some point that tell you to play the single player experience, so I don't know, maybe we won't have daily quests for this new single player experience since it's going back to the old way in which you have to actually pay for it instead of what the dungeon runs and the last 3 single player experiences have all been free, and so there have been daily quests every now and then to push you back into playing that free content again. So if they try to have their cake and eat it too and say you can only do this daily quest if you play this paid for solo experience, that's going to irritate people certainly. Let's see. We're approaching, at this point, if I were to get a legendary at this point, I don't think I would buy any more packs. Like, there's too high of a chance that I would spend all of my gold and still not get a legendary. So ideally, I want to get a legendary in the next 27 packs. And the later is not better, but it would solidify my choices. So we got an epic, a legendary, and 2 rares. I think the best pack I've ever opened had a legendary and 2 epics and like a rare and a common or something like that. I don't think I've ever opened a pack with 2 legendaries in it. Or 3 epics in it. Okay. So while it would be doable to open 30 packs, or 25 packs from this point, that would put me dangerously low in gold for the single player experience. So I would like to get more legendaries in these last 25 packs, but if I don't, I don't. Meanwhile, more epics, the better. More rares, the better. It kind of doesn't even matter if I were to had opened all of these packs and gotten no commons at all. That would have been fine. I could have used dust easily to create every single common in the expansion. And almost certainly what I'm going to do is rebuild all of these decks using HS Replay, and then probably rebuild all of these decks using the Hearthstone recommendation engine later. So maybe what I'll do is hold it until the end of April, and then at the end of April we'll play with the HS Replay decks till the end of April, and then at the end of April we'll have Hearthstone rebuild our decks, and hopefully that does not end up in a very bad position where I end up very low ranked at the end of April. For my main account, that is, and like I'll probably be the same level of low ranked as far as my European and Asian account. 17 more card packs. Now I say this every card pack opening, but I haven't said it this time, so I'll just continue the tradition. People seem to love Hearthstone still, somewhat, although YouTube has certainly made it extremely difficult to get new subscribers and get new views. And I don't think that is just a case of my channel is getting stale and boring, although maybe there is some truth to that too. But I never understand card pack opening videos. I guess it's just for people that don't have the gold, that don't actually play Hearthstone enough to get the daily quest done, but people seem to love it. I will also throw it out there that I am asking everybody who sees this video to ask at least one friend, really just one friend, to subscribe to my channel. I'm not going to ask them to do anything else, really. They just need to subscribe, because the way YouTube has set it up is you need 1,000 subscribers to be where you were a couple years ago, where you only needed 100 subscribers. So I was in the YouTube partner program, selling ads, running like one ad at the beginning of every video, and I was making pennies a week, like 7 cents a week, but it was a hard-earned and well-earned 7 cents a week. And then they changed their policy and said I needed 1,000 subscribers instead of 100 subscribers. And yeah, they de-emphasized subscriptions, which they had been doing for years. So there's really not a lot of reason why people would want to subscribe. So they just made it incredibly hard. There is also a limitation on watch time, but I have plenty of watch time. Plenty of people watch my videos, they just don't subscribe. So yes, if you have one person willing to subscribe to my channel, and then that's all they have to do, they don't have to watch any videos whatsoever, and just stay subscribed, that's where it would be very helpful. I assume most of the people that see my videos right now already are subscribed. If you aren't, please subscribe yourself. But it's really hard to stick to a YouTube channel and continue to try to make good content when you have YouTube undercutting you at every possible opportunity to make just small pennies. It's like certainly not paying the bills. And maybe at 1,000 subscribers, I would get maybe $1 a week. Hardly paying bills even at that, but I was on a path towards getting more success, and I was hoping to at some point have my channel successful enough to pay a few bills and be something that I could commit to. Like, I'm really just looking for a simplistic minimum wage here, and other ways I can be supported. We're wrapping up here, I suppose. Well, we really aren't. Or through Patreon, where we could cut YouTube out of the middle of that. Or if you don't want to support me through Patreon, which is understandable, you can just friend me on Steam and gift me a game or a gift card off my via Steam, a game off my wishlist, which I maintain my wishlist pretty good. And that can be a one-time thing. And certainly, instead of the monthly Patreon commitment. So I'm trying to diversify in different ways that I can ask people to support me. And don't worry, my Hearthstone is almost 100% free to play. I may have actually spent money on the welcome bundle on my main account, but that would have been the only time I've actually spent any money on this in 5 years. So I'm not wasting money on Hearthstone, if that's an issue. I am certainly probably spending a lot of money on video games on Steam, so I can have a selection of games on Steam that I can pick through to make pre-recorded footage, which is the big thing on my channel, is lots of beginning to end long plays, critiques of games. So 13 duplicate rares and 87 duplicate commons. Thus that to get me to 9,405. Notice there's a pretty big difference there in general in the amount of dust I had. Even though on this Asian account I did the exact same thing I had done with all the wild sets up until Old Gods. I had dust in this. So let's just start with what we're missing in Classic, I guess. So we've got some epics and some legendaries missing in Classic, just like the European account. Both the European and Asian accounts started at the same time, but one has been luckier than the other. I guess the European account maybe has been luckier. So yeah, there's a lot of dust here, certainly, that I probably couldn't afford to get. Now, as for the new cards that we did get, let's see. Put this in crafting mode, click this here. So we have an extra gold that will dust that later. We missed a couple of cards there. We missed a few druid cards. We missed a couple of mage cards, and we're missing some paladin cards. Honestly, to get a complete collection or close to a complete collection, you probably would need to open 150 packs per expansion, and you're just not going to have enough dust in free-to-play to do that. You're only going to have enough to open about 50 packs. And frankly, even if you did open 150 packs, you're still going to just end up with a lot of dust and crafting a lot of cards via dust anyways. So neutral cards are the most important cards that you would want to prioritize on. Right. So let's put this in standard. Use the two key phrases of missing and common. Hopefully I'm spelling this right because I'm not looking at the screen. Okay. We should, with 9,000 dust, be able to craft every missing common card in standard, thus making a lot of strategies where you have two cards that are common that you want to play viable. And we should have enough dust to get all of the missing rare cards in standard, but we almost certainly won't have enough dust to get all the epics in the classic set even, let alone all the legendaries in the classic set, at least as it is right now. Once I go and dust all those other standard cards, that may very well give me enough to have complete classic sets. And I cannot underemphasize how important it is to have classic sets and a complete classic set. If you're new to this game, you definitely should have bought 50 packs of classic cards. until you have a complete set. That's the #1 cards as far as long-term benefit. Okay. So now these are the rares that cost 100 dust. And we should be able to afford all this. I'm gonna have to be a little careful not to craft gold versions of cards, but even if I did accidentally craft a gold version of a card, that wouldn't be a big issue because I could just then dust it for the same amount I had crafted it for. I think. Actually, that might actually be an issue, so I should be careful about that. But I guess as long as I start on the right side, it redoes the search every time. So you wouldn't make that mistake anyways. And they make it pretty easy. All you have to do is right click, 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 and then right click again. So you can just click twice, and since the button misses, disappears, clicking twice wouldn't do anything. So if I was too lazy to really do this manually, I could program a macro to tell the computer just to always right click in that one spot and then click twice in this spot. It'd be pretty easy to do. But this is also an example of something that where using a macro software is not worth it, because you will almost certainly spend 3 days programming it, even if it seems like it's something that's simple to do, for something that would really only take a few minutes to have done manually. That is kind of the problem with automation in general, is often people will spend years of research and millions of dollars to automate the process of making a machine that will screw in a screw into a screw hole, when you could have just paid somebody to screw in that screw, paid a human to do it for the rest of their career, and it would have cost you less time and effort. Not that I'm 100% against automation. I would love to see automation happen, and the day after a universal basic income happened. The idea that people need to work is not true, frankly. I'm out of dust. Interesting. So I ran out of dust before I even got to the neutral cards. Interesting. Let me just see if we can type in extra and recover some dust this way. Let's see. I don't like how the screen is shaking every time I disenchant something. It'll get me a couple, but probably not enough. That's 775. Another 50 there. So missing rare and Rise of the Shadows. Do I have enough to do all of this? Just barely. So let's craft one of each of these cards to start with. And so that would be 5. I could get the last 5 neutral and ignore this one. Yeah. And I really don't know why I got less 3,000 less dust on the Asian account than I did on the European account. That seems just to have been the luck of the draw. But overall, we've gotten most of the new expansions. Just a lot of epics and a lot of legendaries that we didn't get to. Yeah, I end up with about 11 pages every expansion after opening 50 packs of things that are still missing, which it's not too bad. It's definitely not too bad. Yeah, almost. It's a decent collection. That's what you get. You get a decent collection. You don't get a complete collection. So let's see if the deck builder one final time for the Asian account builds anything better. The way these buttons are labeled are bad. Should either say convert to wild or deck helper. And I assume deck helper is different. It's not complete my deck. Deck helper is, I guess, the less liked predecessor to that idea. So, yep, it's still going with a similar dragon concept, basically the same cards for the warrior, and I imagine that's exactly what it's going to do for all the other decks. So if this is true, this is going to be just a Murloc deck. There's no reason for it to be that slow, because you wouldn't be able to really follow what it's doing anyways. Yep. Same Murloc deck. It feels like it's basically card for card the same deck anyways. Let's see. This looks like it might be a slightly different rogue deck. So there might be a key card that I either have or don't have in the other accounts. I'm a little surprised to see any variety at all. And this might be a little different of a paladin deck. And yeah, I know I have some cards that are marked as new, and we could try and mark them as not new, but I don't think that actually matters to show off, because they would have just been the cards that I just crafted, a bunch of commons and rares. Yeah, this looks like a more old school hunter deck too, although I really haven't been paying any attention as far as what the decks are that are going to be built, because I'm just going to go change them again. The one big question, and I think my answer is no, would be, should I dust all of the wild cards on my main account? And in the longest view, in the view that if I just continue playing at least my main account forever, eventually I'll get all the cards anyways. It would be an inefficient use of resources to dust everything now and then have to spend dust later to craft it. Now, if you're gonna take a slightly more realistic view and say I need to win now and I want to have a good experience now, it probably does make sense for most people to dust their wild cards, even if you have been playing for 4 or 5 years, even if you've been playing for day one. I never actually play in wild. This is the Archmage Antonidas deck again for the mage. And see, I imagine the fact that the mage is just giving you that deck, is a great indication that right now, because they don't have the information and the feedback, this Complete My Deck is not giving you anywhere close to the best deck you can have. Give it 2 weeks and come back here, and it almost certainly will work way, way better. And even Hearthstone said that. They said, keep in mind that the Complete My Deck on day one of a new expansion is not going to have the information. Yeah. Let's just see what it would be as far as new cards. New all cards. We have a card that is totally not new. Again, this is bugged. A card that is totally not new. Card that is not probably new. And a bunch of classic cards that are almost certainly not new. Or if they are new, that would be a surprise to me. And see, I can go through this multiple times. I can move around and it'll just always think it's new and just slowly work its way down. Alright, so new, enter, close, and then new again. Now no results. Come back out here. Decent chance there'll be some new cards there. I guess not. Alright. So yeah, so far so good. That's gonna be it for this special card packing opening stream. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be playing regular Hearthstone. There's tons of we'll be playing regular Hearthstone tomorrow. There's tons of work I need to do off screen as far as dusting and using hsreplay.net and the Hearthstone deck tracker app to build up my decks a little bit better. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the expansion and the new cards. They're nothing amazing. You may take note that I did not mention any of the cards whatsoever, so if you really wanted to know what the cards did, that's in the all cards revealed videos on my channel, the Rise of the Shadows, where we looked at every single card and looked at what they did. But they're not bad cards, they're not great cards. That's probably the best you can get for a Hearthstone expansion. That's going to be it for the stream. I end all my episodes the same way. I ask you to like, share, subscribe. When you subscribe, click the notification bell. Comment down below and watch every second of my videos, because that's what YouTube wants for my videos, to promote them. If you want a friend to follow me on a backup service, any social media services like Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+. Well, I guess Google+ is now shut down. But yeah, all of those links are down below in the description box. And if you want to cut YouTube out of the deal, there's a link to Patreon down below where you can support me on a monthly basis for as little as $1, or for a one-time gift you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list for as little as, well, I think there are some games that are as low as 54 cents on Steam. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.